Welcome back to the Cisco TV studio. Great to have you back with us on the live stream, and welcome back to the RAI here in Amsterdam. Cannot believe it's the final afternoon. We are literally watching the last hours of the show tick by, but we are so glad to have all of you with us. Remember, keep reaching out on social media using hashtag Cisco Live EMEA. We want to hear from every single one of you. And right now, we are going to keep talking IP Fabric because here in the studio with me, I have got Jacob Al-Nasir here with me, head of Central Marketing for IP Fabric, along with Alex Giddings, Solutions Architect with IP Fabric. Gentlemen, how did you get away to spend time with us here in the studio? How did that happen?
How did it happen? Well, it was the invitation. When we had the invitation, we couldn't say no.
That's good. Oh, if only it was that easy in my life the rest of the way. I invite people and they say yes, but it's not that easy. I'm so glad to have all of you here with me. All right, let's talk to what we just heard in the iTalk here. What do you think made CRS and CRG pursue network assurance as a solution in the first place? So why did they need it if they've already got all these other tools that they could be working with?
Yeah, it's a common theme that we see repeatedly through a number of our customers, is that there are a lot of specialist tools delivering a vast amount of useful information for network operations, network management, etc. But when you start moving, when you need to move away into greater detail and get a better overview of what your network estate looks like, you need something that gives you that kind of almost, although I don't necessarily like the phrase, single pane of glass view of this, which is effectively what IP Fabric delivers. It unifies all of that information coming in and then presents it in a human, easy to understand, human friendly, shall we say, manner.
Yeah, the idea of the platform is to be as easy to use as possible. So if you've got a complex data center infrastructure and a complex WAN, you can see it all in one view and be able to easily see how your users are interacting and if there's anything in the network that may be causing issues, so that people can start troubleshooting easier, faster, and get to root cause as soon as possible.
We spend so much time talking about reduction of complexity, right? How do we simplify the process? And I always think that this is the outreach to our customers. We can explain things all over the place when we say, look at how easy it is to use. You've got it all right in front of you. It just makes perfect sense. All of a sudden, adoption skyrockets and people get it. It's like the light bulb goes off, right? Let's take a step back for a moment. I want to take a big picture approach. Explain network assurance for us, right? Let's just make it fundamental here.
Right, so I'm going to take this from a little bit of a marketing and sales perspective, so and then I'll hand over to Alex. But at its core, really what network assurance is being able to take a look at the network and identify, is this as a whole operating in the way I intended? Is it delivering functionality, value to the business in the way that we expect based on the configurations we push out, the setup that we do, and validate that effectively.
Yeah, we have a number of customers that are governed by compliance regulations and different areas in different parts of the world, and it makes it quite difficult sometimes with multitudes of different technologies to be able to see in one view the compliance of the network, the assurance, is it doing what it should be doing? And is there anything that we need to look at or focus on before the auditors come in and we get a slap on the wrist?
Let's talk about reference architecture a little bit. What sort of benefits does a reference architecture framework offer to our customers who might be considering an approach like the one that we're talking about here?
Okay, so we've often found in our customers that are pursuing a network automation architecture or moving towards network automation, we find that to be able to deliver network automation, you first need to know what your network looks like. And to be able to find out what your network looks like, IP Fabric's great. We connect to multitudes of different technologies and we can provide the view, and then you can provide that information to tools that allow you to derive intent from your network, deliver the automation and deliver the intent to the network, like tools like Cisco NSO, etc. But without that information of what does it look like now, there's no way to easily and steadily get to the position of being able to deliver that intent without the observed state.
Does that seem to be a big conversation that the two of you and the rest of your team are having over at IP Fabric here in the World of Solutions this week?
Of course, yes. We deliver part of that solution, but there's many other tools. We don't do everything.
Right.
We'd like to integrate with Cisco products, etc., to be able to deliver parts of that reference architecture that really make a difference we're one part of the puzzle. We want to integrate with the tools, the teams that are able to deliver value to their customers using the products that they're used to or like.
Absolutely, absolutely. Did you want to add something onto it, Jacob? Sorry.
It's just, it's this life cycle view of what network automation really is. We talk about it as a single term, but effectively it's made up of a number of components. And one of those components, as Alex mentioned, is assurance. But then you need tools that are going to do the orchestration or tools that do the fulfillment and actually deliver that intent, the config and the setup of the network. And it's only when those three are effectively working in harmony in a cycle that you can deliver that network automation, as a whole.
So you have to take a holistic approach in order to get to the full impact of the benefit, or let's say maximize on the potential benefit.
Yeah, it's the ideal, let's say it's the ideal state in our eyes of how to effectively deliver or be able to have, an automated network.
Absolutely, absolutely. Let's look at IPF as a platform. How is delivering value to our customers today?
So, for example, IP Fabric is able to discover multitudes of Cisco customers' networks because the different platforms that Cisco has, got from the data center to the WAN to many other security, for example. IP Fabric is able to provide a holistic view of the entire network from site to site as you transition between those different technologies and domains in one view, so that if you do have issues in your network, if there is spanning tree problems, if there are security policies that are preventing your users from having a good experience, we're able to provide that in one view. So being able to allow we call it mean time to innocence, being able to allow the network engineer to say it's not my fault, it's a security team, it's the cloud team, for example.
It reminds me of the whole blame the network, always blame the network.
Exactly.
It's not my fault, it's not my fault. Tell me about the difference between network assurance and network automation. These are two different things, but do they cross over with one another? And if so, how do they do that?
Yeah, so it comes a little bit back to what I was saying earlier about network automation effectively being an end state, right? What you're looking for, and we did use the term at one point, the self-driving network. That's kind of what you imagine that network automation delivers. You tell it what you want it to do, and it happens, right, in the background without requiring a huge amount of, human involvement. That's a really big goal, and it's also a really big dream, and it takes a lot of tools and a lot of effort to put something like that together. Network assurance is effectively one part of that journey, and you can't automate, you can't do a lot of things without knowing where am I starting from, what do I have, what state is it in, how is it set up, and what is that delivering at the moment. So it's effectively like wanting to get somewhere, you need to know the starting point where you're leaving from. So assurance kind of delivers that this is the point we're at now, but it certainly doesn't limit itself to that, right? Because as soon as you start making changes to the network or the setup, you can continue to take snapshots of it, compare them to what was done in the past, and see how that difference has impacted, the way that network functions as a whole.
This has got to feel very empowering for customers that are using IP Fabric capabilities, because I'm sure that that both of you are asked questions all the time that are along the lines, how do I get there, how do I get there, how do I get there? If you can show that to them, does it mean just automatic adoption at that point?
Sometimes. It's very difficult. Sometimes it's a generational issue, sometimes it's an organization change within the environment. Getting the product in is the first step. Once you have the visibility, it's easy for them to then progress on that journey. How do you convince management that this is the tool we need? How are we going to save operation hours, for example?
So my favorite thing to always end an interview or a conversation with is, what can our customers look forward to moving forward? We've got a very busy 2024 ahead. Gen AI, we're hearing about it all over the map. I know it's impacting what you guys are doing as well. What can we tell people? Keep your eyes open. Follow us because what?
Well, I'll kick off with that. I think from my perspective is what we're doing is we're trying to make as much of the vast amounts of complex information we basically pull in from the network as humanly understandable as possible, and build as much logic above that, so that it means that it's easier for a network engineer, infrastructure, for architect to understand and gain value from that information. Collecting information is one thing. Interpreting it is really complex. Being able to deliver the value of interpreting it for them to save time, that's a really huge part of what we're working on. And then obviously, as you can imagine, when we say, we work with very complex networks that span hybrid environments, etc., then basically always and always expanding what the product and platform is able to effectively absorb from information sources, right? So meaning it's more and more complete, and there's less and less of elements that will meet at a customer's network where we say, okay, we still don't support maybe that element or this thing, right? So making sure it is as holistic as possible.
I love that, I love that. Alex, Jacob, really appreciate the two of you being here with us. Congratulations, I hope you've had a great time here at the show. Every time I walk by, you guys are very busy, so well done.
Thank you very much, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Really appreciate it. Thank you guys both so much for coming in.